Hello chess friends and welcome to Out of Chess channel and welcome to a spectacular game that I prepared for you today. Today we'll try to answer the question, is there really a perfect game in chess? And of course chess is still not solved. We cannot really say this is a perfect game or something, but this game that I'll show you today I think is close to that. I think it's really close to perfection because you'll witness, I think, one of the best games of your life. Here we'll see an open, really sharp tactical battle between the two top engines, Stockfish 15 and Lc0. This is simply a different game. I think you'll see really from the beginning it's almost like a boxing match, really a wild boxing match where they're throwing punches all over the board. A really mortal game it was. And I wanted to also thank my follower Mickey Antonio for his video because he texted me the PGN of this beautiful game. I never saw this game. I'm not sure how this game slipped really under my radar because most of the times I follow these top engine games. I really didn't see this one. Really thank you, big thanks for texting me this game because it was simply one of the best games, as I said, that I've seen in my life. So put your seatbelts on. This is simply chess from another dimension. So let's see now the game. Stockfish opened here with the move d4. Lc0's response was d5. We have c4, the queen's gambit, and after move e6 we have now the queen's gambit decline. Stockfish continues with knight to c3, and now the open battle already starts here with the move c5. So we have now the Tarrasch defense. You see there is already an explosion in the center of the board, so probably this center will be opened. When we have the open center, then of course the game is quite tactical. The pawn structure is not blocked out. You have still many opportunities to place your pieces on the best square, so that's why from the beginning it's really a sharp opening here by black. So in the continuation we have c takes d5. Now we have e takes d5, and most of the times you're playing this idea, knight to f3, and from knight to c6 many times you go into this Rubinstein system with the move g3, bishop to g2 and similar stuff. But in the continuation, after move knight to c6, Stockfish 15 pulled off this line, d takes c5. And okay, this move is perfectly fine because you're leaving your opponent with an isolated pawn, but the downside a little bit about this move d takes c5, that actually the bishop can come out now with the tempo into the game. Also, what black has as an opportunity is here this move that Lc0 pulled off here, d4, expanding simply in the center of the board. Now you see black has now a dominant position, has at least a space advantage. But of course the downside also about this move is that actually with the knight to a4, this pawn on c5 can be protected. So now the fun really starts. Now really the tactics already began. So we have here now bishop to c5, after knight to c5, queen to a5. Okay, this was a beautiful tactic, but of course black can regain the piece here on c5. We have queen to d2, and after move queen to c5, a3 here by Stockfish 15, trying to push the pawn on b4 and have an expansion on the queen side. Okay, what to do here from black's perspective? Many of us I think would play the move a5, but this move is not working. This would be a huge mistake. Many of us, as I said, would probably play this blockade idea on the queen side, not allow maybe the move b4, but actually in this scenario b4 is an opportunity because after a takes b4, a takes b4, the queen is under fire, and now also the rook is hanging, so you have to step back with the queen and then you lose the rook. If you don't play this line after move b4, of course you can play something like queen to d5, but now with b5 we're still expanding on the queen side. You take out the pawn, but now after knight to d4 white should be slightly better because of this better activity of the dark square bishop. Then of course g3, bishop to g2. I think we can line up both of these powerful bishops on both of these diagonals, and this is an open game. You'll see black already lost the dark square bishop. In this scenario again white should be better, so this is not working. So that's why after move a3, Lc0 realizes of course the tactical threats on the queen side, plays now normal development with knight to f6. So b4, we have queen to e7, and now b5 by Stockfish 15, knight to e4, so counterattack by Lc0. And as I said, from this point on it's already a wild game, really monstrous tactical battle. So we have now queen to f4, and now comes knight to c5. Really again a beautiful tactic because you cannot take out so far the knight on c6. This is not working because you get a beautiful tactical shot, knight to d3, you get the royal fork. You cannot take of course with the pawn because of the activity of the queen on the e file. So after move knight to c5, this gives black extra time. White still needs to sort of retreat with the queen. The queen is not attacked but could be attacked by the move queen to d3, so that's why here it's necessary for Stockfish to play the move queen to g3. And what to do here again from black's perspective, many things can happen here. You can of course also play knight to a5, escaping with the knight, but Lila C0 plays again the sharpless line, plays now knight to d3, creates a check. But the problem after move king to d1 is now that two pieces are hanging, and okay, you could do maybe here knight to c1, but this is not working. Knight to c1 seems like it's solving every positional problem in black's position, but this is not working because white simply continues with rook to c1. Now your knight is hanging, you have to retreat, and white picks up simply the pawn on g7. Again, this should be much better. This pawn is weak. The rook has to move. There is a weakness on h7. This pawn will be taken. We'll play again g3, bishop to g2. This bishop will be powerful, so this is again not working here, this line for black. So that's why let's go back. After move king to d1, you see knight to c1 is not working. So what to do here from black's perspective? Here Lila C0 pulled off a monstrous move, bishop to e6. So you see two pieces now are hanging, but of course the idea is clear about this move. Here white will be challenged now with the move bishop to b3. In the continuation we have now b takes c6 by Stockfish 15, and now bishop to b3. You have only the square d2 now, and now queen to c5. The idea is again clear. We want to play here the move queen to c2. You don't have time here to take out the pawn on d3, then you get queen to c2. When you step back to e1, then it is simply the game because you get checkmated on d1. So really wild stuff. If you play of course something like e3 here, maybe to challenge this pawn on d4, again the same thing happens. Queen to c2 is immediately even the checkmate. So you see really serious threats here by Lila C0 already. The only move here in order to defend his position is the move knight to d4 that Stockfish played here. But as I said, many times you see now in this particular game that there are simply only one move that you can play. Every other move is losing for one engine. Basically we're running into many forced tactical sequences in the game. After move knight to d4, again the downside here for black is that you cannot take the knight on d4. Queen takes d4 is not working because we'll simply take out the knight. Okay, you can take out the rook, but look at this, queen to d7, king to f8. We just grab the pawn here, rook is hanging, you have to step back, and now with queen to d6 the game is over. We'll simply pick up the rook. We'll probably even promote the new queen here with this beautiful pawn on the b file. So this is game over simply for black. So you see, after move knight to d4, we are protecting the square c2, but black doesn't have time to take out the knight. That's now the main issue. So that's why Lila C0 continues the pressure with queenside castling. Notice now that the rook is lined up now here against the king. So far many pieces are there, but this file, the d file, could be cleared. So when that happens, of course the king is very dangerous here. So let's see now again new opportunities here for white can of course play here e takes d3, but this is not working because of rook to d4, and now this other rook will come into the game, maybe to d8, e8. Still you're vulnerable here with the square c2, so probably you're running again into some wild tactical sequences. So this is again not working. So that's why from queenside castling here by Lila C0, Stockfish simply took. We have c takes b7, we have king to b7, and now queen to f3. Very important move. Now you see Stockfish is staying with the knight on the board. It's trying also a nice tactical shot, knight to c6, playing a fork against the rook, because we have said the rook is really important here in black's attack. This is now the most active piece of black, so now we want to get rid of the big FF king to b8. Now Stockfish plays the beautiful knight to c6, a fork against the king and the rook, but now after king to c7, now comes e takes d3. The problem is here you cannot actually take the rook. Again, if you take the rook, then you're running into a checkmate sequence with queen to c2. You have to play king to e3, and now with rook to e8, again you have to go here towards the center. Then you get queen to c4. Now there's simply not a good defense anymore, so it's a checkmate here. It's game over. What you could do here, instead of this queen to c2 after king to e3, rook to e8, you could of course try queen to e4. You could cover yourself with the queen, but again with queen to c5 you can maybe take out the knight on d3, but again we just play with our rook, and now again it's game over. You can maybe cover with the queen, but this is simply game over again for white. So you see, after move king to c7, you don't have time to take out here the rook on d8. That's the main issue, because you're running into a checkmate sequence. that's really, really wild stuff. So here in the continuation, that's why we have now e takes d3. This really makes sense because now there is also the pawn in front of the king, and that's at least for a while protecting now here the position on the d file. But still, not everything is solved. It seems in the beginning so that maybe Stockfish has solved now every tactical problem, but of course now queen to c2 happens anyway. We have now king to e3 and now queen to c5. We have now a very important move by Stockfish 15. Stockfish has to play now first the move d4. Let's see, if you try to escape here with the move f4, this wouldn't be good because of this particular problem. Now we play g5, you have to step back here to g3. Now we play queen to d6, attacking the king. You have to cover yourself now with the bishop. Now after g takes f4, queen to f4, and rook to g8, attacking the king. Okay, the king can still escape here towards the center. That's the main issue. But notice now after rook to e8 that you don't have here the opportunity to cover yourself with the knight. If the pawn is on d4, and you see now in the continuation of this tactical sequence why really Stockfish played the move d4. If you would have, of course, have now the pawn on d4, still you can cover with knight to e5. So that's now the main issue. Now it's a problem after king to e3 and rook to e8. You play king to d2, but you're still running into a checkmate sequence because now queen to f4 happens and you lose the queen and the game is over. That's the main issue. So let's go back. Here, as we said, after queen to c5, you have to first play d4. Now we see a similar tactical sequence but with a different outcome. So you see rook to e8 again happens. Again, this is move g5, you're running to g3. We have seen it before. Now with queen to d6, you can cover with bishop to f4. Now we have g takes f4, queen to f4. Again, this check. Again, you're running towards the center, bishop to d5. We have seen it before. But now after move king to e3, look at this. After rook to e8, you still have time to play knight to e5, cover yourself on the e file. Really, really monstrous tactical sequence. So of course, here black still can play f6, but it gives a little bit more time here white to escape. And we have to say the queen is not hanging. In the previous tactical sequence, the problem was that the queen was hanging and the game was basically over. Really, really monstrous game. Never seen such a king hunt all over the board with so many opportunities for both sides. Really, really wild stuff. So okay, after move f6, we have now bishop to b5 attacking the rook. We have this intermediate idea. We have f takes e5. D takes e5 is not working because you get simply rook to e5. So you don't want to open this position from white's perspective because their king is stuck in the center. So that's why this is not working. So after f takes e5, we have queen to h4. If, for instance, e takes d4 happens now by black, this would be actually good for white. White can escape here to d2. Actually, white can even hide behind this pawn. No checks by the queen are possible. So far, this is very important. All of the squares are taken by the queen and by the pawn. So this could be then a good defensive strategy just to hide behind this enemy's pawn. So that's why let's go back. After f takes e5, queen to h4, here rook to g8 was played by Lc0, targeting the pawn on g2. We have now rook to b1, trying to cut off a potential escape route now for the black's king. This is really wild. So, but still, Lc0 goes king to b7 anyway, getting in front of the rook. This was really crazy when I saw this one. Where are you going? Why are you going to the queen side? Why are you going in front of the king? But actually, when you think about it harder, there are no good discoveries. Of course, you're there, but let's see. Even if you try, for instance, e takes d4, here again, it's not working. Again with hide simply. So this is not working. So as I said, after rook to b1, Lc0 escaped to b7. We have this idea bishop to d3, discovered check, but now the king hides on a8 and there's simply not a good, really not such a wild idea anymore to endanger now the king on a8. So really this is now really a monstrous game. As we said, this was really brutal tactical sequence. Now the game is a little bit slower. Lc0 and Stockfish slow down now a little bit the pace of the game. We have rook to b5. Still, there is of course this idea, rook to d5. After queen to d5, bishop to e4, trapping the queen. So that's why we have here this idea. e takes d4, the king has to step back, king to d2, and now of course rook to e8, controlling for the here the square e4. So in the continuation we have f3 again. Stockfish 15 is trying the same idea. Rook takes d5 and then bishop to e4, creating really this sort of an x-ray attack here on the diagonal. So bishop to c6, here Lc0 escape from the potential attack by the rook. So this was, as we said, the tactical shot. Rook to b4, queen to e6, we have bishop to e4, bishop to e4, queen to e4, and now after a couple of trades of pieces around the square e4, we have now reached finally this beautiful rook and pawn endgame, and this should be now really a drawish position. So all of this stuff, all of this brutal battle just to get this kind of an endgame, this was really remarkable. This was really incredible, really wild stuff. So let's see now what happened in the continuation. We have rook to e1, rook to h4, attacking now the pawn on h2, h3, getting this other rook into the game. We have rook to e2, protecting everything, rook to f4, rook to b5, and now after a couple of moves here, Lc0 took the pawn, but also Stockfish takes out now the pawn on d4. So we have a rook to g3, a rook to e7, controlling of course the 7th rank. This is very important when you play an endgame. And now in the continuation we have rook takes g2, we have now also rook to a5, attacking down the pawn on a7, king to b8, rook takes a7, now a check, and now simply here a couple of perpetuals by Lc0, and the game ended with a threefold repetition. Oh, sorry, I missed it. We have here rook to h7, the game continued, pardon me, sorry, I didn't see the move. So we have here king to b8, we have king to e4, we have rook to e8, king to f4, we have rook to f8, a couple of checks again. So here we have still this perpetuals, and now the game finally ended with a threefold repetition. So really monstrous game, really, what to say, I'm not sure. This was really remarkable from the beginning. Such an open Tarrasch battle, such a wild tactical sequence. The king was all over the board, then simply tried to escape. Lc0 continued the pressure, sacrificed some pieces, then Stockfish had to sacrifice some pieces back. But it was remarkable how they handled this tactical battle. In my opinion, really one of the best games that I've seen in my life. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see more brutal game like this, check out my commented chess games played by computer series with some more games played by Stockfish, Alpha0, Lila0, Dragon Engine, and many more. And pardon me. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.